going on, Mountaineer fans, and welcome to another edition of Mountaineer Mafia. This week we've got the gold out at the Rock. This is probably a terrible picture showing up for you, but this will open up the home portion of the schedule this year, and we'll be going up against Savannah State, which we'll get to in a minute. This will also be the first chance for most of us to see the new scoreboard in person, the massive new scoreboard in person, as you can see here. It looks just about as big from the pictures that I've seen as it does here in this one particularly. And also the end zone seating seems to have been expanded further this year from all reports that I've seen online. So that's good news for those of us who want to put more butts in seats and get that stadium capacity up even further than it already is. I'm also wearing a gold jersey. As you can see, this is actually last year's model. This year's version will have some minor tweaks that will include more black on the shoulder stripes here. In fact, I think pretty much the whole thing here from the cusp of the shoulder down will be black this year. Most of the other will remain pretty much the same, probably some minor stuff along the way there as well. The helmet that they're going to go with, for those of you who've clicked into the website, I actually think looks pretty good. I think that the center stripe with the black Mountaineers in the cursive throughout won't be able to be seen probably in person either on TV, but I think it looks good when you see it up close. Hopefully it's a subtle thing that gets the guys riled up more than anything, and for those of us who've seen the pictures, I think it looks pretty good. I just don't know how well it'll translate to on field for the fans to see in the stands or on TV, but it is pretty cool that it's on there. I know that many of us didn't like the whiteout idea last year. I think this one will go over a little bit better. This is obviously a team color here, a strong team color. It's black and it's varsity gold, I believe, as Nike calls it. I like the look of the helmets. I did not know if I would going in, but now that I've seen them in video clips and pictures, I actually really enjoy it. I didn't mind the white last year. I happened to be in the locker room when they were giving the pregame speech before the game, and it was definitely something the players wanted. The coach was getting them riled up before and said, "You asked for this, you got it, now make it worth it," So I think it's something that these guys wanted. I don't know if the gold out particularly, but I think they like the look. And I think they're excited, as the rest of us are, to see what the decal will be once we get to that point. So now we'll move on to some of the points from last week against Georgia. I think Georgia's a pretty good football team. I don't know if they're quite as good as we made them look, but I certainly think they'll finish at or very near the top of the SEC East when it's all said and done. And that's even with Easton out for most of the year. I don't know how much of the year he'll actually be out for. I don't think it's a season-ending injury, but it might be more than 1 week. I know he's not going to be playing at Notre Dame this weekend. I actually thought that Fromm ended up being a much bigger threat than Easton was, to be totally honest with you. I thought Easton started the game off pretty poor, and I thought we were getting to his head, getting to him quickly, and forcing him into some errant throws that didn't go his way. Obviously anything can happen once he went out, and I think a lot of us were thinking along the same lines I was. I was like, yes, this is a freshman with no experience coming in here in a big first home game that, yeah, us as the opponent for them isn't a big deal, but it's a big deal for this kid who's never played a collegiate game before. So it didn't quite go our way, as we know now. We continuously shot ourselves in the foot. We made bad mental mistakes and took bad, stupid, flat-out stupid penalties at times. Although I will say statistically we actually did better than we had in the previous years against P5 opponents. We talked last week about improving third downs, and we actually went 7 for 18, which is about twice as many for conversions as we've had in the previous 3 games and over the past 2 seasons against P5 opponents. So I actually thought, statistically speaking, that was a pretty good improvement. We passed for 148 yards, which isn't amazing, but it is actually an improvement over the last couple games against P5s. And it's actually a yard better than UGA passed for, which by the eye test from what I watched, I would not have known that, to be totally honest with you. We also threw 0 interceptions and had 0 turnovers, which is big going in. Had you told me all those statistics, I would have assumed that we stood a damn good chance of winning the game. We actually also possessed the ball for 31 minutes and 4 seconds, while UGA only had it for 28 minutes and 56 seconds. that's not always the biggest tell because UGA can have a quick strike offense when they need it, and it showed against us. But I still think the results weren't the greatest as far as, everyone's eye test, and the result that we ended up with isn't what we wanted, obviously. But I still think we actually have an improvement over the previous seasons. It might just be a mental improvement and little tiny minor things, but I really and truly do think that this team's going to come out of the gate in this next game. So with that, we'll move on to Savannah State this week. Obviously, with the weather coming in, they might have some other things on their mind, but this is their first game of the year. They also got a new coach last year and went on to improve from a 1-win victory in 2015 to 2016 where they had 3. However, this is still an FCS team that has only had 4 total wins in the last 2 seasons combined. So, do I think this is a trap game or anything else? No, I don't. They scored 0 total points against FBS competition last year. That was Georgia Southern and Southern Miss. A total of 0 points. They also gave up 110 points in those 2 games combined. I believe Georgia Southern was 54 and Southern Miss 56. So, they didn't have close games, and those aren't necessarily upper echelon FBS teams. These are middle of the tier, maybe just a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse depending on the season, but giving up that many points and not scoring any, doesn't bode well for them. So again, I do not see this as a trap game. I see this as a statement game for us specifically. Throw the ball, run the ball, score on every possession. That should be this team's goal. This is the first game of the season for them again. We got to take advantage of any mistakes that they make along the way. No let up. Show up on the field, show the dominance that we're known for, establish that home field advantage so that when Wake comes to town, we're all prepared. And that goes for everybody up in the stands too. Be loud, stick around to the end, and enjoy the weather and atmosphere. And until next weekend, go Apps, and I'll see you later.